In the headlines, President Buhari presides over FEC meeting, swears in 6 new permanent secretaries. Troops kill 5 bandits, recover ammunition in Zamfara. NECO reschedules common entrance examination over low registration. And finally, on the international scene, Kenya court deaths hit 90 as authorities expand operations. Hello and welcome to News Update on Trust TV. I am Sagir Ibrahim. Hello and welcome once again. President Muhammadu Buhari on Wednesday presided over the Federal Executive Council meeting at the State House in Abuja. Before the commencement of the meeting, the President swore in 6 newly appointed federal permanent secretaries. They include Adam Mahmoud Kambari of Borno State, Eswabana Nko Asanye of Cross River, Lamua Adamu Ibrahim of Gombe State, Yakubu Adam Kofar Mata, Kano State, Oloruntola Olufemi Michael of Ogun State, and Richard Filangwa of Taraba State. In attendance at the meeting were the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Dr. Folashade Yemieson, and the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Munguno, retired. The ministers in attendance include Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, Finance, Budget and National Planning, Alhaji Lai Mohammed of the Ministry of Information and Culture, Mohammed Musa Bello of the Federal Capital Territory. Others are Otumba Niya Debayo, the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Professor Ali Isa Pantami, the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Abubakar Aliyu, the Minister of Power, and Dr. Chris Ngige, the Minister of Labor and Employment. In an interview with State House correspondents, the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, Mrs. Folashade Yemieson, urged the new permanent secretaries to give their best in their discharge of duties to advance the efficiency of the country's civil service. Also, troops of Operation Hadarin Daji have killed no fewer than 5 armed bandits during separate encounters in Zamfara State. It was gathered that the troops, while on regular routine patrol at Damri district of Bakura local government area of Zamfara, had credible intelligence on bandits' movement with large numbers of rustled cattle. The troops swiftly mobilized to their routes, and a heavy gun battle occurred with armed bandits near Galadime village in the Damri district under the Bakura local government area of the state. After the encounter, 3 armed bandits were neutralized while others fled with serious gunshot wounds, abandoning the rustled animals. Items recovered during the encounter include 1 AK-47 rifle, 7.62mm special ammunition, and 5 motorcycles. Furthermore, large numbers of cattle, camel and sheep were also recovered. Also, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, is to commence afresh the prosecution of a former Minister of Aviation, Femi Fani-Kayode, and 3 others at the Federal High Court, Abuja, on alleged misappropriation of 4.6 billion naira and money laundering. Counsel for the EFCC, Rotimi Oyedepo, SAN, told Justice Daniel Osiago of the Federal High Court in Lagos that the move became necessary following last week's judgment of the Court of Appeal, Lagos Division, which quashed the charges. Oyedepo said that in view of the judgment of the Court of Appeal, all exhibits and documents tendered by the prosecution should be released to enable the Commission commence the matter afresh at the Federal High Court, Abuja. Justice Osiago subsequently ordered the release of all exhibits and documents tendered before the court during the hearing of the matter back to the EFCC. Last week, Thursday, via Zoom, Justice Mohammed Njuma of the Court of Appeal had delivered judgment on an appeal filed by one of Fani-Kayode's co-defendants, former Minister of Finance, Nenadi Usman, challenging the jurisdiction of the Federal High Court in Lagos to hear the matter. The appellant also submitted that the charge as filed before the Lagos court was defective. Also, the Incorporated Trustees of the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, and the Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development, CJID, have asked the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos to determine whether the arbitrary fine of 5 million naira imposed on Channels Television by the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, is not in breach of the principles of fair hearing and right to access to information by the public. The plaintiffs want the court to mandate the NBC to reverse the fine immediately. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the NBC, and the Minister of Information and Culture were listed as the first to third defendants in the summons. The case has been assigned to Justice Peter Lifu, who has fixed May 25 for hearing. And also, a Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has struck out an interim order of forfeiture obtained by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, seeking to seize 14 properties allegedly linked to Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State. In his ruling, Justice Nicholas Owebo struck out the suit on the ground that Section 308 of the 1999 Constitution prevents the institution of any criminal or civil case against a sitting governor or the president. The court also directed EFCC to make publications in 2 national dailies for any interested parties to show cause why the order should not be made absolute. The governor premised his application on the ground that the property listed were not proceeds of unlawful act as they were acquired long before he was elected as Kogi State's governor and could not have been acquired from Kogi State funds. He further stated that by Section 308 of the Constitution, the EFCC is prevented from instituting any civil or criminal suit against him. He said the validity of the Proceeds of Crime Act 2022 was being challenged at the Supreme Court. Also, the Ebonyi State Election Petitions Tribunal has been directed to relocate to the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, with immediate effect. Chief Judge of the Court of Appeal, Monica Mensem, gave the directive. Secretary of the Tribunal, Nyo Henry Sekula, announced this in Abakiliki on Wednesday. He said that following the directive, the Election Petition Tribunal office at the Ebonyi State Judiciary Headquarters in Abakiliki has shut down. According to him, all processes relating to matters before the tribunal will continue at Abuja. On the reason for the decision to move the tribunal to Abuja, Henry said it is not within his powers to speak on the reasons. He, however, noted that the Rivers State Election Petition Tribunal and that of one other state is also affected. Talking security now, the Kaduna State Zonal Command of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arrested 48 internet fraud suspects, including 2 women, Precious Malachi Zidiep and Tina Patrick Omoyeme, in a sting operation in Kaduna. The suspects also include 2 ex-convicts, Williams Justice Gankon and Abdulwasiu Yunus, who were apprehended at Yoruba Street, Yakowa Expressway, Kariji, Kaduna State. They were previously arrested on April 10, 2022, prosecuted and convicted on August 31, 2022 by Justice Nasir Umar Sadiq of the Kaduna State High Court. The other suspects are Triumph Abdul Yakub, Faith John Joseph Ojima, Benjamin Ode Sunday, Wisdom Omofuhe Billy, Korede Samuel Godia, Isaiah Sunday, Favor Olayinka, Bamidele, Gabriel Sunday, Sunday Simon Ojobo, Stephen Dike Ebere, Abba Tachio, Moses Njoku Emeka, Okechukwu Kelvin, Chidera Lucius Rakun, Bege Bonnet, and Jonah Husseini Zinsan. Most of the suspects were arrested at Rosalux Blue Hotel, Agua, Kaduna South, which is fast becoming notorious as a haven for cyber fraudsters, as some suspects had been arrested in the facility by the commission in the past. Some of the items recovered from the suspects include mobile phones of different models and laptop computers. The EFCC says the suspects will be charged to court as soon as investigation is concluded. Also, the National Examinations Council, NECO, has rescheduled the 2023 National Common Entrance Examination, NCEE, to Saturday, 3rd June. In a TAS statement on Wednesday, NECO's spokesman Aziz Sani announced the rescheduling of the exam, blaming the decision on the low registration rate. The examination, which admits candidates into the federal unity colleges across the federation, ought to have commenced on Saturday, April 29th, as earlier scheduled. According to Sani, states with low registration will be given the opportunity to register their candidates for the examination. He urged all candidates, parents, guardians, schools and relevant stakeholders to take note of the new date for the examination, while stating that the registration of more candidates will continue till the new date of the examination. Also, buses facilitating the evacuation of Nigerian students from Sudan have finally arrived, the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission said on Wednesday. NIDCOM in a tweet said the buses arrived on Tuesday night, with more buses expected to arrive on Wednesday morning with help from the National Emergency Management Agency NEMA and the Nigerian Embassy in Sudan. Some of the Nigerian evacuees spent the night waiting at one of the pickup points until Wednesday morning. A video seen by newsmen showed scores of suitcases outside the building with dozens of people hanging around. Though at the time the video was recorded, it could not be confirmed. However, a male evacuee could be heard saying, "Some have been here since 5 a.m., but we are still waiting for the bus to come." NIDCOM shared photos from another pickup point showing scores of people standing in queues. You're watching News Update on Trust TV. Still to come, we take a look at security of telephone conversations. This and more when we return.
Nigeria. Year after year, they have informed, educated, and entertained us. When you needed information, knowledge, or an escape.
From generation to generation, the Nigerian broadcasting industry has worked tirelessly to serve you.
And now, this service will finally be recognized.
Come May 17th this year, broadcasters all over Nigeria will gather at a hotel and suites for the maiden edition of the Nigerian Broadcasting Awards, an award ceremony set to reward hard work and excellence in the broadcast media. Voting starts on 20th April and ends on 4th May 2023. Visit www.tnbawards.ng to vote now. They've served and they're still serving. It's time we say thank you. This award is organized by the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, BON.
Welcome back. If you're just joining, you're watching News Update on Trust TV. Now a recap of our major stories. President Muhammadu Buhari presides over FEC meeting, swears in 6 new permanent secretaries. Also, troops kill 5 bandits, recover ammunition in Zamfara. Moving on to other stories, the Center for Information Technology and Development has called on the National Communication Commission (NCC) to come up with regulatory frameworks for community networks, including no fee for licensing, as is done in other African countries such as Kenya for its citizens, by supporting community networks through paying for the license fee and getting them a backhaul to use. Addressing a news conference on community in Kano, CITAD confirmed that many communities in Nigeria are forced out of not only making phone calls but also enjoying online businesses such as e-commerce, among others. Also, the commonest and most important aspect of a mobile phone is voice calls. Before now, it was among some of the few secured aspects of a mobile phone. However, with advancement in technology, the privacy of phone calls has been taken away, as leaked phone calls have exposed the fact that calls are no longer secured. In this report, Neil Samson speaks with Nigerians on the rise in leaked conversations and what it portends for the future of phone calls. Take a look.
Phone calls were usually regarded as private conversations within parties involved. Such chats have over the years stayed so. In recent times, calls are increasingly being leaked as the public space is frequently inundated with leaked conversations that are meant to be private. Technologically, there are apps that enable phones to record conversations, while some phones allow users to either manually or automatically activate call recording. Also, there are apps that enable third parties to tap phone lines of unsuspecting users to record conversation or access certain kinds of data. A tech expert, Deji Mike, identifies some of the signs that point to the fact that one's phones may have been hacked.
There are some basic signs to look out for to know if your phone is being tapped. Number one should be, I think, the battery consumption. Once your line is being tapped, your phone is being tapped, your battery seems to do it more and gets hot. Gets as the temperature of the phone gets hot because it's overworking beyond its capacity. Another thing to look out for is the data consumption, because it's transmitting somewhere else, another different device. The data seems to run down to get exhausted on time.
The recent gale of leaked conversations among relatives, colleagues, or friends have raised the level of distrust among many Nigerians who are wary of the kind of conversation they engage in during phone calls.
I prefer one-on-one conversation. Like a couple of times, if I had conversation with someone, maybe, I don't know, somehow I get to hear it from someone else. It has happened to me personally. So I prefer like to see the person one-on-one, we discuss it. You get? Yeah. Instead of phone calls.
For me, I don't really have trust conversation on phone because, you know, this system of government now and the way of the civilization of technology. So they do hack system like phones, many things, even your WhatsApp, even the Facebook. They monitor the calls that come in, the calls that goes out, the chat, everything.
This scenario has made many to think of ways of holding conversations and restricting such to the parties involved without the likelihood of a leak to a third party.
Don't let your phone get to the wrong hands. As you don't, unlike those days, you can simply leave your phone with your kids or with your spouse or with your friend and walk away. You don't do that anymore because in a split second, they can gain access into your valid information. And there are some other websites also that are not really secured. Any website that does not have the HTTP is really not a secured site.
Despite the seeming distrust that such leaks promote, discussing over the phone has been known to help parties appreciate non-verbal cues like pitch and tone, as well as the silence in between. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
On the international scene, the death toll at a ranch in coastal Kenya that is owned by a pastor who is accused of leading a religious cult and ordering his followers to starve themselves has reached 90 as the country's interior minister announced an expanded operation at the site. The new figure came after police exhumed 17 more bodies. The total number of those rescued while starving at the ranch now stands at 34. The Kenyan Red Cross Society's latest figure on the number of missing is 213. Pastor Paul Mackenzie, who heads the Good News International Church, is accused of luring his followers to the ranch near the town of Malindi. He allegedly told them to fast to death in order to meet Jesus before burying them in shallow graves spread across his land. He was arrested after police raided the property earlier this month, and he remains in police custody. Interior Minister Kithure Kindiki said that the security team will upskill search and rescue missions to save as many lives as possible. The minister said there would be a turning point on how the country handles threats caused by religious extremism, and was looking into another suspected cult in the same Kilifi County. The teams digging at the site have been finding decomposed bodies buried in mass and single graves marked with a cross. Those believed to be living in mud-walled houses inside the ranch have been fleeing from rescue teams, and mostly those who can't walk or talk have been rescued so far. Also, Sudanese and foreigners streamed out of the capital of Khartoum and other battle zones as fighting shook a new 3-day truce brokered by the United States and Saudi Arabia. Millions of Sudanese trapped in their homes since violence began in April 15 between forces loyal to the country's top two generals. Civilian life has come to a standstill as tens of thousands of heavily armed fighters from the military and its rival, the Rapid Support Forces, battle it out in densely populated residential areas. Over 420 people, including at least 273 civilians, have been killed and over 3,700 wounded since the fighting began. A series of short ceasefires the past week have either failed outrightly or brought only internment lulls in the fighting that has raged between forces loyal to the country's two top generals since April 15. The military has appeared to have the upper hand in the fighting in Khartoum, but the RSF still controls many districts in the capital and the neighboring city of Omdurman, and has several large strongholds around the country. You're watching News Update on Trust TV. We'll go on a short break and the news continues afterwards. Stay with us.
That's great. It's good to see you.
Welcome back. This is News Update on Trust TV. In sport, this season's FA Cup final on 3rd June will revert to a 3 o'clock BST kickoff for the first time in 12 years. The match between Manchester United and Manchester City at Wembley was expected to begin between 4:45 and 5:30, but London's Metropolitan Police has categorized the derby match as high risk and objected to the later kickoff times on security grounds. It is set to be the first time the game has started at 3 o'clock since Manchester City beat Stoke in 2011. It will be the first FA Cup final between the sides, and last season Liverpool and Chelsea both received allocation in excess of 30,000 for the game. The earlier kickoff time should make travelling away from London easier for the fans, with the last direct train from the capital to Manchester on 3rd June scheduled to depart at 9:01 p.m. Tuesday's Premier League games between Arsenal and Chelsea was rescheduled at less than 3 weeks' notice following MET police objections. And also, British number one Emma Raducanu has withdrawn from the Madrid Open with a head injury hours before her first round match. The 20-year-old was set to face Bulgaria's Victoria Tomova on Wednesday. Raducanu's withdrawal means she is almost certain to drop out of the world's top 100. The 2021 US Open champion has been hindered by a wrist problem in recent months. Raducanu's most recent appearance was a 6-2, 6-1 defeat by Jelena Ostapenko in the first round of the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix in Stuttgart this month, after which she dropped to 85 in the world rankings. She skipped Great Britain's Billie Jean King Cup defeat by France to prepare for the clay court part of the season. Also, a former Minister of Labour and Productivity and pioneer member of the People's Democratic Party, Musa Gwadebe, is dead. Gwadebe died on Wednesday morning at the age of 86 at a Kano hospital after a prolonged illness. A daughter of the deceased, who is also a worker at Radio Nigeria Pyramid FM Kano, Aisha Musa Gwadebe, confirmed the death, saying the funeral prayer of the late minister would hold at 2 p.m. at the residence of Maiduguri Road in Kano. Gwadebe was a minister during Olusegun Obasanjo's first tenure from 1999 to 2003. He was also secretary to Kano State Government during the tenure of late Sabo Bakinzuo and was a member of several boards. He left behind 2 wives, 11 children, and many grandchildren. And with that, we've come to the end of news updates at this hour. Do well to follow us across all our media platforms. I'm Sagir Ibrahim saying thank you for watching. Bye for now.